for this wicked world. Your data's uncorrupted, but does something skip?
Hi there! Welcome back to My Hot Kitchen. I'm Wendy, and I'm excited to teach you one of my all-time favorite romantic meals. But before you jump into the cooking, make sure you take a moment to create the atmosphere. You know, turn up the heat in your kitchen. Only you know how to romance your love. So relax and let the worries of the day slip away and focus on how you want the evening to go. Tonight's dinner in will be my take on chicken marsala. So get ready to gather your ingredients. The first thing you're going to want to do is get the chicken breasts going. So we've got these fresh and tender breasts here. And the first thing that you want to do is sprinkle some lemon pepper on the top. And you see, got this nifty little grinder here, sea salt and black pepper and lemon zest. It's pretty tasty. If you find one of those, it's great for this kind of meal. Then you're going to take the chicken breasts and drop them in the flour. Seasoning side down first. Go ahead and sprinkle the other side of the chicken breast with that tasty lemon pepper. Any kind of lemon pepper you choose will make this dish delicious. The next thing you want to do is flip the chicken over in the flour. And you're dredging the chicken in the flour to add a little flavor and body to the sauce later on. So go ahead and rotate them around until you have them all covered in flour. And then we're going to move over to the saute pan. Before you add your chicken to the pan, add olive oil. Make sure it's nice and hot before you add the chicken. If you see just a little smoke coming off of it, you know it's ready. So take the chicken, put it right in that nice hot oil. Share a nice sizzle when you drop it in. If you swirl the pan around, you can coat the chicken a little bit better and you get a nicer, crisper, browner texture. And then you can just leave that alone for a few minutes. Now we're going to move on to our garlic bread. Any good pasta dish deserves a good side of crisp garlic bread to go with it. Garlic bread is one of my favorite things to make. So I have 2 cloves of garlic here. And I'm going to mince them up. Now I feel that if you hand mince your garlic that it tastes a lot better. So that's what I'm going to do tonight. But when you make your garlic butter, you can use powdered garlic or pre-minced garlic or whatever sort of garlic you like. It's going to taste good no matter what you use. So I'm just going to slice this up. And slice it up again, and slice it up again until it becomes a mince. And then this is going to be the base of a really delicious garlic bread. And I like to take it to a nice fine mince for this. And as you're mincing it, you can smell the aroma start to fill up the kitchen. Garlic has an unmistakable aroma. There's really nothing else in the kitchen that comes close to it. All right. I have this minced up nice and small, but not too small, so that the garlic's flavor still explodes in my mouth. Next thing you're going to do is mix this into a whole stick of butter. That's right, a whole stick. You don't want to skimp on the butter in your garlic bread. So then mix it in with your butter. The butter will soften as you work it a little bit. Add a generous amount of basil to it. Just a sprinkling of salt and pepper. And a couple drops of olive oil. The olive oil is going to help it spread across the bread even easier. This is going to be so good. It's nothing like a nice crisp garlic bread to go with your pasta. Once you've incorporated all the ingredients, go ahead and spread it on the bread. I find that about half a French bread loaf does the trick for both of us. You use however much you want. I'm going to slice it in half this way. And then you want to open it out onto the board. Take your delicious buttery spread all the way across the surface of the bread. Make sure you don't leave any empty spots, or as my husband always says, holidays. And make sure you leave yourself about that much in your bowl for use a little bit later. This is ready to go in the oven. Just pop it in the oven at about 300 degrees and let it cook while you're making the rest of the meal. And now you're making pasta. So we have some thin spaghetti here, about 2 servings worth. And what you want to do is drop it right into the hot boiling water. Add a nice generous amount of olive oil to the water. And a nice generous amount of salt. And then give the pasta a good stir. Get it all worked into the water. And oh hey, look at our chicken, it's ready to be flipped. Look at that nice pretty brown color on those chicken. It's gonna be really, really good. So now you've got your chicken on, your pasta working. So now it's time to work with the feature ingredient, the mushrooms. The mushrooms are what really makes this dish amazing. Now you're gonna start with about 8 mushrooms. Slice them up how you like to slice them. I'll show you my favorite way. I go through and I slice them all in half. And I do this so that they lay flat on the cutting board and I reduce the chances of cutting my fingers. Certainly wouldn't want you to cut your fingers. That would really blow the romantic vibe for the night, eh? And then lay them all out flat. Round ends together. And slice them up. I like to do a pretty thick slice on them so that they have some good texture to them when you pour them over the chicken. And these mushrooms I'm using are called cremini mushrooms. It's really my favorite all-purpose mushroom. It's like a mini portobello mushroom. So now you're going to slide back over here to your saute pan. And you're going to take the chicken breasts out. They're not quite done cooking at this point, so don't nibble on them. I'm going to go over here and get the mushrooms. I'm just going to go ahead and slide them off the cutting board, right into that pan, right over all that stuff that the chicken left in the bottom of the pan. I'm going to add the garlic to it too. This is really one of my favorite meals because it doesn't create any mess at all. And you see, as we're sauteing the mushrooms, it's lifting the flour right off the bottom of the pan. This seems a little bit dry, so I'm going to go ahead and add a little more olive oil. I'm going to toss them. These have had just a second to brown on all the sides. So now you're going to add the wine to it. Now traditionally this recipe calls for Marsala wine, but I almost always never have Marsala wine around. I do usually have a half-drinking bottle of white wine or red wine laying around, and that's what I use in my kitchen. So add it to the mushrooms, stir it around a little bit to mix the flour into it, and then you just want to put chicken breasts right back on top of the mix. Let it come up to a boil, like this. This is a nice little boil. I'm gonna turn the heat down a little bit to a nice medium-low. Put a lid on it. Then you're gonna let that simmer for about 5 minutes. In the meantime, check on your pasta. Should have just a little bounce to it. It's perfect. I'm gonna go ahead and take it out of the pan. Thin spaghetti only takes about 7 minutes to make al dente. Give it a little rinse with cool water to stop it from cooking. And shake it out. You don't want any water in this when you saute it. So just set your pasta off to the side for a second, because right now is when you want to add the broccoli to your chicken marsala. So you're gonna love this way of cooking broccoli. All you do is you set it right on top of the chicken, right over the sauce, in the same pan. The steam from the sauce is gonna cook the broccoli for you without making any extra dishes. Because who wants to do dishes on a romantic night in? All right, now you ready to do the fun part with your pasta? You're gonna take this delicious garlic butter that you made earlier. You're gonna put it in this pan and then you're gonna let it brown and then toss the spaghetti in it. Go ahead and give it a little test first. Should be really sizzly. It should smoke. And that butter should turn brown. You want it to all turn brown kind of at the same time, so slosh it around the pan till it's all melted. You want it to get bubbly. It's gonna start to smell a little nutty, and you're gonna smell the garlic roasting as you do this too. This really is my favorite thing to do with a thin spaghetti. Once it's all melted, add the spaghetti. It's also gonna make a lot of noise, that's great. Quickly toss it up. Take it off the heat and set it aside. Don't need to touch it again until dinner's ready. Now it's time for my other favorite part of this meal, the grating of the cheese. Now I've chosen to use a mix of Romano and Mizithra cheeses. I am grating them on a super fine grate. It's the type of grate that's about as big as the pasta you're putting it on, actually. Grate up about 1.5 inches of the cheese, and then move on to the Mizithra cheese, which is a really great Greek cheese that blends really well with the Romano and really makes the pasta on this dish pop. Again, you want to use a little bit over 1 ounce, which is about 1/2 inch. Let the cheese out of the grater and fold it together. I bet it's about time to go check on the chicken and broccoli. That's looking really, really good right there. The broccoli's turned to a nice bright color of green. Give the sauce a little taste. That's really good. I'm gonna add just a pinch more salt to it. A little bit of pepper on top of the broccoli. I bet your garlic bread is ready too. Should have a nice crisp crust on it. The butter should all be melted. And it really shouldn't be that hot when you pull it out. And now it's time for the big event, the plating of the dinner. I'm gonna start by taking some of this delicious pasta putting it on the plate first. Make sure you put nice piles on there, but don't overload it. It's hard to have a romantic night when you're all full of pasta. Next, gently set your broccoli next to the pasta. It's perfectly all right if it gets doused in the sauce. It's going to make it extra special tasty for you. This is a heck of a one-dish meal, isn't it? Well, almost one dish anyway. Layer the pasta, layer the chicken right on top of the pasta. Skim off some of the mushrooms. Pour them over the top of the chicken. Take a little bit of that sauce to drizzle over the chicken. A couple little droplets over the pasta. A little bit more on top of the chicken. Then you're down to the crowning glory, this delicious cheese mixture. Sprinkle it right over the pasta. You want a small mountain of cheese on top of that pasta to make the meal come together. Those are beautiful. Let's go put these on the table. Well, that was fun. Pretty easy too, huh? I bet your sweetie will be quite impressed with what you made. So one more time, relax and enjoy the rest of your night. Done with this thing. Sweetie. It does. You should come see what I made you.
Wow, I love these nights. They look beautiful. Wow, this is awesome. Oh, yay. Oh. This is great. Have a seat, my love.
Thank you, dear. I know this is one of your favorites.
This is outstanding. This is a hot kitchen.
So thanks for joining me in my hot kitchen tonight. Make sure you turn up the heat in yours too. And I'll see you next week. Night-night.
Oh baby, you're too pure, you're too pure.
Pet the kitties.